Hey guys, this is Ormus bringing you a little bit of gameplay footage from the World of Warships beta test that I was invited to. In this video, you'll see a little bit of action for all four ship classes that are currently in the game. Alright, so here I am driving the Clemson class. It's a tier 4 destroyer for the Americans. Right now there's only two nations in the game. There's American and Japanese. Right now the Americans have destroyers, they have cruisers, and they have aircraft carriers. The Japanese have battleships, cruisers, and destroyers. So I tried to get at least, a little bit of play in for a little bit higher tier stuff for all four classes. The destroyers are a riot to play. They're extremely maneuverable. You've got the thing that I just activated is your smoke screen, and it makes you harder to detect. And anyone ally or enemy that is in it or behind it. So I've gone into this area knowing that the enemy is coming in, and I'm trying to make it harder for them to see not just me but my allies that may come in to support me. And I've also launched a spread of torpedoes, as you see them going off into the distance. And the reason is because torpedoes are very slow, 60 knots or so. Compared to guns, they're very, very slow. But they have pretty good range. The very low tier, they might max out at 5 or 6 kilometers, but at this tier, they were actually maxing out about 13 kilometers. So, you can get a lot of torpedoes going where you think the enemy's going to come. Then it's a big shock to somebody when they get hit with a torpedo out of nowhere. So, and as you see, I hit somebody with one of those torpedoes. So. Now, right now, the thing about the destroyers is they're a riot to play. They're really fast. They've got great firepower because they're torpedoes, but they have extremely low health, and they have no armor. Not zero. So I went in there, set up a smoke screen for my allies, threw out a spread of torpedoes, and now I'm getting out so that they focus on the guys that can take some hits, the cruisers and the battleships, and basically not me. Now I'm like, oh, well, I know that there's probably going to be some ships coming in through that little focal point there. So there's another spread of 6 torpedoes to say hello to that guy, or whoever may come in behind him that maybe I don't see. The key to this game, or at least from what I've seen, is never stop. Unless you're playing against people that just don't know what they're doing. Stopping behind, like you'll see some people in this footage, they stop behind islands and whatnot, and they fire over the islands thinking the islands give them cover. They do give you a little bit of cover, but once people know where you are, that cover is useless, especially if there are aircraft carriers with torpedo planes and dive bombers. Then you're just literally a sitting duck, and torpedoes will screw you up. So right now I'm just trying to harass this guy. He's a battleship. You can tell because the icon is the two slashes through. And as you see, that spread that I shot like forever ago, I actually hit him with one of those. Torpedoes can really change the outcome of a battle. They are very, very powerful. Like my hits right now are doing very little. I'm just kind of trying to set him on fire, keep him distracted because he's a battleship and I'm a destroyer. So, but it's my torpedoes that will mess him up, and that's what I want to hit him with. Another thing about this game I really like is they've got these little medals in, and you see, as you hit somebody, it's like, oh, you lit them on fire, or you hit them with torpedoes, and it's just adds a little bit of extra fun to the game. You're like, hee hee, I lit them on fire. And fires do a lot of damage. They just take a while to do it. But they can also be very distracting to whoever it is that is piloting the ship you're attacking. So,
enemy battleship foundered.
There we go. Torpedo to the face equals sunk battleship. So I also wanted to say that Tier 4 is pretty low tier. There's 10 tiers in the game, just like if you've ever played World of Tanks or anything like that. You know, so Tier 4 is pretty low, and this thing tops out at like 34 to 35 knots, which is fast compared to a similar tiered cruiser or a battleship or whatever. But when you get in the higher tiers, even one tier higher, which I did, I just didn't get any good footage of it. I was playing the Japanese destroyers, and that was actually topping out at 41 knots, so they do get significantly faster. So again, like I said, I know that my torpedoes have a 13-kilometer range, and that aircraft carrier, I'm not sure at this point. I wasn't sure if he was moving or not. I couldn't really tell, so I'm just thinking to myself, well, you know, if he's not moving long enough, then they'll get to him and they'll do some damage to him, you know. And the torpedo reload is short enough that I know that by the time that I get into a short range to him, I'll have my torpedoes ready to go again. So what you see coming off of him right now, that icon, that's a torpedo bomber. So another thing of interest is destroyers have pretty good anti-air defense. Now, whether you're, you know, driving a cruiser or a destroyer, or battleship, whatever, your anti-air defenses are controlled by the AI. However, and you'll see this in later battles when I play on cruisers or battleships, a lot of ships have secondary weapons. Like cruisers, a lot of times they're 5-inch batteries. You can actually hit control and click on an enemy to manually have the AI target a specific target, whether, you know, it's aircraft that you want them to focus on, or you know, torpedoes or whatever that may be. Now right here you see some pro torpedo dodging. That's right. That's why I love destroyers. They are so maneuverable. I literally just drove in between those torpedoes and kind of fished my way through. So yeah, that was, I remember that battle, and I was like, well, I could turn all the way and miss them, or I could just drive right in between them and no problem. Now here is a weakness. Now, right now I'm attacking a sort of, I believe this was a tier 5 carrier, and it doesn't have really any armor, but because it has a lot more hit points than I do, and all I have are my little guns and torpedoes, what I'm trying to do, I've switched to AP rounds that you can see in the bottom. And the reason I switched to AP rounds is I'm trying to actually knock out his boiler, slow him down. And here's some more torpedo dodging. That's from his torpedo planes. He's trying to attack me back, but yeah, it's not working out for him. Apparently he doesn't know that he can shift. Actually, I'm not sure if this tier of aircraft carrier has guns that can do anything more. Aircraft carriers have really good anti-aircraft you know, guns, but the lower tier ones, 5 and 4, I'm not sure if their guns can also attack surface vessels. I know the higher tier ones are, because I was actually attacked by them. But anyway, so on to what I was talking about. So I switched to AP because my HE to this guy wasn't really doing a lot of damage. So what I'm trying to do is I'm trying to slow him down by knocking out his steering gear or his boilers. Right now I'm aiming for his steering gear to keep him from maneuvering. And what that'll do is that'll allow me to do a successful torpedo attack, because one thing about carriers, they don't maneuver very good, but they are pretty quick. Once you get to tier 5, tier 6, tier 7, they are almost as fast as a destroyer, so he can keep this chase going for a very long time. And I'm looking up and I know that we have, well, the battle's over now, but I knew that we had very little time left to try to kill this guy, so my only hope of sinking him was to get some torpedo hits. So that was a really good game, lots of hits, good torpedo hits, good sinks, and lots of credits and XP. So let's do a little aircraft carrier gameplay now.
Battle starts.
This was the highest tier aircraft carrier I got to, the Saipan. The aircraft carrier, I believe at this time I had it fully upgraded. So as you progress through the game, no matter what ship you're playing, whether it's a destroyer or cruiser, aircraft carrier, battleship, you'll be able to upgrade components. You can upgrade the hull, and that can increase your weapon emplacements. You can increase the engines, which obviously increase your speed and maneuverability. You can upgrade your weapons, which can increase your rate of fire, or the damage, or both. Lots of different things. Torpedoes, if you upgrade those, most of the time you get more range and more damage on them. Well, in the case of an aircraft carrier, one of the things you can upgrade is the amount and the kind of aircraft you have. So by default, this aircraft carrier had a fighter squadron, a torpedo bomber squadron, and a dive bomber squadron. When it's maximum upgraded, you can have 2 dive bomber squadrons and 1 torpedo bomber squadron, or 2 torpedo bomber squadrons and 1 dive bomber. It's your choice. I prefer the torpedo bombers. I think the dive bombers right now in the game aren't so useful, because even a battleship, if it maneuvers even a little bit, the torpedo bombers, or the dive bombers, will do like splash damage, pun intended, at best. You know, I didn't actually ever see a direct hit except for on people that were standing still, which if they're doing that, they're fools. Whereas torpedo bombers, and you're going to see me do this in this battle, you can actually coordinate your squadrons to attack at different angles, and what it will do is force the player to maneuver in one direction, but if they do that, then they're actually running into the torpedoes from the other squadron. So I like to have 2, and I guess eventually you can actually have 3 of the same kind of squadron.
Our team is taking the lead.
7 or 8 or whatever. So you'll see me do that here. Also, something I didn't know when I was playing, but I found out later, is that you can actually, again, using control, completely manually tell your squadrons like exactly where to fly, how to fly, and everything. It's pretty cool. I didn't know that at this time, but I still was using my mouse to manually get them to alter their flight path to get different trajectories on the torpedoes, as you see me doing right here. So this guy's coming in from the north, and my other guy's gonna come in on his flank, and that's gonna, no matter how he turns, is gonna get hit. And there's my, you know, dive bombers try to get the hit, and I don't think they don't hit at all. They hit to his sides and do nothing. But see all those torpedoes? Yeah, he's gonna get nailed.
Returning to ship.
Look at that damage. Torpedoes are ridiculous. And they should be, because they're very slow, they're very easy to outmaneuver in most ships, and most of the torpedoes you miss. And when you're driving an aircraft carrier, the only weapons that you control are your fighter squadrons, and you're darn near defenseless against enemy ships. So it's like you got to be far away from the battle. So that means that your squadrons, after they unload their payload, they have to come back and they have to rearm, and that can take a minute or 2 minutes to get back to the ship, and then it takes about 30 seconds or so for them to rearm, and then another minute or 2 minutes for them to get back to the battle. So you're talking like 4.5 minutes, depending, you know, for every one of your attacks. So does it suck when you're the guy getting hit by a million torpedoes from an aircraft carrier? Yes. But it's not like one aircraft carrier can attack a bunch of different people in the same battle. I mean, you're lucky to get, you know, to be able to attack like 3 or 4 different ships. And if you move your aircraft carrier closer into the battle, then you are the prime target, because you have no armor, you have a lot of health, so people are going to go for you. Just like artillery in World of Tanks, you know, if you get spotted, everybody shoots for you first. Well, it's the same thing with aircraft carriers. So they seem very, very incredibly powerful, but understand that you get very few chances to do that kind of damage in a battle. And this whole time that I've been talking, like, my planes are just barely getting, they're not even back yet, actually. If you look on the minimap, you can see the Squadron 3 I've highlighted. They haven't even gotten back to my ship yet. So one of the things I wish I had caught footage of is this game, you'll see, you know, and you have seen, is gorgeous. It's absolutely gorgeous. But one of the things that I found really, really nifty with with the aircraft carriers especially is you can actually select your squadrons and view the battle from their perspective. You can fly around with your squadrons. It's actually really neat. You know, it's an interesting camera angle, and with anything that fires, manually fires, like battleships, cruisers, whatever, you can actually follow your rounds to target, which is another neat perspective. So, you know, not battle changing, but fun, and it's really cool. It's really good to know that Wargaming kept in mind that this is a game, and you know, the reason people are playing it is for fun. And
present course.
Part of that fun is just seeing the absolute mayhem, you know, up close and personal, whether you're playing a destroyer or you're playing an aircraft carrier and you're 20, you know, kilometers away. You want to be able to get right in on the mix and enjoy the battle from, you know, a close range perspective, and that camera does allow it. Like I said, I really wish I had got some footage of that, but I did not, unfortunately. So my squadrons are rearmed, and they're heading out again to go and attack this guy. And now I was talking a little bit on the destroyer footage. The 2 lines or 2 slashes through the icon, that's a battleship. 1 slash through is a cruiser. So you know, you can look at the top and you can see the icons, and you can see what the enemy has left. I don't know if this is how it's going to stay. This was a closed beta test. They may add more reference to how many and who on the enemy team is left and your allies.
Oh, son, I'm so fat!
Planes. They may not. Didn't really exactly need it. I apologize for the talking in the background. That's actually a friend of mine. I was on his Ventrilo server. But I didn't want to mute the sound because I wanted everyone to hear what the game actually sounds like. Now, as I'm clicking on my squadrons and selecting their angles of attack, you've probably noticed that sometimes my torpedo bombers seem to have like this straight corridor attack, and other times kind of a spread torpedo attack. Now, using control, which, as I said, I didn't know at the time that I could do, but using control, I believe I would have had more control over how my bombers attacked. However, not knowing that, the way that I would change it in the game was just forcing them to come at the target from different directions by, you know, right-clicking the map to get them further north or wherever the case may be. So that time, hey, my dive bomber actually hit him for 900 damage. But I think my torpedo bomber is going to do a lot better. Look at all those torpedoes. Oh my god. Yeah. Yeah. That was a lot of damage. And here comes 3 more torpedoes to finish. Oh, yeah. 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 Anyway, another thing you might be noticing is in the top of the screen you can see the 2 numbers, you know, on the left and the right, and A, B, C. That's because there's actually right now 2 different types of game modes. There is the typical destroy everybody game mode, you know, and then there is the capture point game modes, and that's what we're playing right now. You capture the points, and each point's worth 2 points per, I think it's second. So if you have 2, then it's 4, and so on and so forth. However, it's see, that was a good result. 11 torpedo hits, bunch of fighters shot down.
That was an
It was good. Very good result on that. So here's some cruiser gameplay. Honestly, this is my favorite class of ship in the game. Like, I think cruisers have it all. They are fast and nimble, kind of like a destroyer, not quite as nimble obviously, but they're very fast. But they've got a ton of firepower, like on par with a battleship. Their only drawback is they have very little, not very little, but less hit points than a similar tier battleship, and obviously way less armor. But they still got a little bit of armor, and they still have a reasonable amount of hit points.
This
and,
Nova is
definitely
saying I'm
compared
OP,
to a battleship is just
like
nuts.
I fucking
So what you see me doing here is I'm actually launching a recon plane. That is pretty cool. I love the graphics in this game. Everything's on max that you're seeing, and I just thought it was a beautiful game. If you're curious, the icon on the bottom of the screen and it has a Y under it, that is because this is one of those ships I was talking about that I have secondary weapons on, 5-inch guns, and by default they will attack surface ships that are near to me. I don't remember the range, I think it's like 5 kilometers or closer. However, if I'm being attacked by dive bombers or torpedo bombers or whatever, I can hit Y, and for 30 seconds or 45 seconds, I forget which one, they will switch to just shooting down aircraft, and basically this ship just turns into an anti-aircraft battery. It's absolutely insane. I don't remember if this replay shows. There was a couple of battles where I took down like a ton of aircraft.
I don't have enough mana to finish
but yeah, it's really neat. Cruisers get that ability because of their secondary weaponry capability. But you can use that control clicking I was talking about. You can actually target torpedoes with it and shoot torpedoes. Pretty neat. So here we are, going my long-range weaponry. I have 152 millimeter cannons on this sucker. A whole bunch of them. Not quite as much damage as battleship weaponry of the same tier, but their rate of fire more than compensates for it, if you ask me. I absolutely love this class of ship. I mean, nice and fast, 32 knots.
Ambush!
That's destroyer territory. I mean,
You got died!
Yeah, that was funny.
Again, I apologize for the talking in the background. I probably should have switched channels, but during the heat of battle, believe it or not, I didn't even notice it. So, I don't want to mute the sound because I want the sound effect of the game to be in the video. But yeah. Hope it's not too distracting. Oh, and I would like to say that there is ramming in this game. However, I think it's a little bit broken right now. Basically, almost any ship rams an enemy ship, you both get sunk or very close to it. Even a destroyer hitting a significantly larger ship like a larger cruiser or even a battleship, the destroyer will be destroyed, of course, but the battleship will get really, really messed up. And I don't think it's quite accurate to how much damage a ship that small should do. If you ram an allied ship, you do a little damage, but it's not much at all, so it's just more of an inconvenience than anything, which is good because a lot of people were ramming each other because they're not paying attention to where they're going. Now in this you see me, you see the target reticle kind of appear, the white reticle above a ship. Basically that means that whoever you're looking at is in range of your guns. It doesn't necessarily mean you can shoot at them. Like in this case, I had this big mountains on these islands in the way, so I couldn't shoot over them.
Fast enough to block a shot for you. I'm pretty sure if you put your clone down, it'll block a shot.
So there goes my anti-air. That's my automated anti-air, and because I saw the dive bomber and I don't want him to hit me, I hit the Y. So now automatically they're just going to town on those aircraft. And as you can see, I just shot down one of them, and now he's out of my range. Well, apparently there's some more range. Just look at all that. Oh, shot down another one. And another. Like I said, cruisers have a lot of anti-air capabilities.
And yeah, I probably should be with the Terror, but I don't think we can finish it without taking top.
So, in this game, in order to hit them with your, that's my rounds, you know, it's kind of Actually, it is. It's a lot of guesswork. You know, you gotta. I'm looking at it. I'm like, okay, he at the time was 10 kilometers away from me, and you know, this is where I think he's gonna be when my rounds get there. Yeah. So as you can see, good rate of fire, great rate of fire. Look at all that going down range, though. I mean, that is a whole lot of firepower. Boom, boom, boom. Knocked out his turret. That's what that meant.
Boom.
Missed on that one. Oh, look. Some more stuff to shoot at. A battleship.
Need to go quicker.
How long?
Like I said before, I really like that it tells you as you go, you know, oh, you hit, you know, and it gives you little medals and everything. It just adds to the fun factor of the game, if you ask me.
I was just streaming, so I can only know.
Now, if you're looking in the top right of my aim reticle, kind of, you can see where it says detected. It's because one of these skills, again, kind of like World of Tanks, you can get skills on your captain. And one of the skills I got was situational awareness, which is, if you played World of Tanks, the equivalent of Sixth Sense. It lets you know if you're detected, and it even tells you, like, if it's just an exclamation point like that, it means the ship is detecting me, probably the battleship I'm shooting at. And if it's an airplane, it will tell you that it's an airplane that's detecting you. So it's pretty handy. Unlike World of Tanks, though, and
Enemy battleship destroyed.
a lot of other games, when you do the skills, it's not, oh, start at 0% and then you have to get XP to get up to 100% of the skill to become active or whatever. It's points, you know, so, oh, my captain has 1 free point and I want to put it into the skills that cost 1 point. You know, and then there's a second tier which costs 2 points, a third tier, so on and so forth. So there it goes again, I'm detected. And the situational awareness perk, or skill, is a 3-point skill. There's lots of really handy skills. I really like how they did the skill tree in this game versus like World of Tanks, where it's that 100% experience to get a skill program research so you can go to the next one. I'm not sure why I decided to run in the island. I think I was trying to turn around and I thought I could make it. Honestly, not quite. If you run yourself into an island on a larger ship like cruiser battleship, it can be quite annoying to get off of there because you'll think that you can turn sooner than you can. I just love that. I mean, this just whole you know, whole swarm of rounds going down range. Now again, I do want to talk about the 2 kinds of ammunition that you can fire from your guns. We lost because the points, but I still had a great game. 52 hits, 4 fighters shot down, crits. With HE, you most of the time want to shoot very lightly armored targets like destroyers, aircraft carriers up until the higher tiers, and some of the lower tier cruisers. In fact, depending on where you shoot them, actually the higher tier cruisers are lightly armored in a lot of places too. So that's the thing with HE though. It doesn't have any penetration. Not a problem if they don't have armor, and it's very damaging, you know, to most ships. Also, if they do have armor and you hit them on the decks and their superstructures, only HE can start fires, which is pretty handy. So it's good. I said this before. It's very good for distracting the enemy. You know, if you're the player and your ship's on fire, you do have a repair function which will put the fire out, but it's on a cooldown timer. So you use it, and then you, depending on the ship class, it can be 30 seconds or a minute and a half until you can repair again. So you don't always want to hit repair when you get lit on fire, because maybe your boiler is going to get knocked out. You know, then you need the repair or something like that. So it's very you have to think very like ahead of what's going on and say, okay, I'm in this situation, you know, I'm duking it out with a battleship, and you know, chances are good, yeah, he lit me on fire, but chances are good that at some point very soon I'm gonna need to repair my engines or repair a gun or something of that nature, and it will put out the fire too at the same time. Everything that's wrong with your ship will get repaired when you hit that repair. So it's just a matter of timing. And again, I just sent out a recon plane, very handy for seeing things over the horizon. Just love the graphics.
Yo, this guy beat you to the sorry game.
But anyway, back to what I was talking about with the ammunition types. So, you know, by default, especially in the more rapid firing, you know, ships like destroyers and cruisers, HE is usually what I start out with, because lighting fire is a good thing. More than likely, the first targets you're going to come across are the faster ones, which are the lightly armored destroyers and cruisers. But even, you know, if you switch to AP, armor piercing, and you shoot one of these very lightly armored targets, and you hit places in their hull where there is nothing like a boiler or a magazine or a turret or something of that nature, it'll go right through it and do very little damage. You know, in fact, there were many times where I'd shoot AP and I missed what I was shooting for, which is usually the boiler or steering gear, and it would only do like 80 or 90 damage compared to the, you know, 900,000 damage that you're doing with the HE. And the reason is because, according to the game mechanics, if it's a lightly armored hull, your round is just fully penetrating and going right through to the other side, and it's not hitting anything in between, so there's very little damage to the ship. So it's kind of like, when I was playing this game, I was thinking of it as kind of a Hail Mary when you were fighting these lightly armored ships, because if you could hit their boiler, it stops them dead. You know, and then they're a sitting duck for whatever you want to do to them. You know, you can pick them apart with AP or HE, and you know, shoot their superstructures and light this on fire, take this out and do this and do that. And it's really handy. Now, when you're fighting the more heavily armored stuff like battleships and aircraft carriers later on in the later tiers, and some of the later cruisers, then AP can do similar damage to HE. So the big advantage to AP is that its potential damage is much greater than HE. So if you can hit something that stops that round, like a boiler or heavy armor or whatever, it will do some serious damage to the target.
You dog!
And
why
so
you come
see,
down
I got this
here?
battleship
Tribute's up there.
ran into me. Wasn't paying attention where he was going.
What you doing,
so
son?
I am slowing down, trying to go in reverse to get off of him before we both get lit up by this battleship that I'm shooting at. As you can see, the detected icon, it shows a little plane next to it. That's what I was saying before. You know, it's telling me that this guy actually doesn't see me right now. I'm detected by an airplane. Alright, free of my ally, and I am just going to town on this guy, just working it. But it's not really doing a whole lot of damage, because I am not successfully hitting what I'm aiming for, which is his boilers, magazines, steering gear, stuff like that. I'm trying to crit him to slow him down /
Shoot
stop
that
him,
dog, yo!
so that we can just pick him apart.
Put
Because everyone else is obviously
down,
shooting
son.
HE. That was pretty solid hits right there. So now I'm leading him because the boiler is usually going to be under the smokestacks. So I'm trying to hit his boilers. Previously I was trying to hit his steering gear so he can turn. Doesn't look like he can turn anymore, so I've switched. Looks like he's going to ram an ally. Yep, the ally just sat there and let him ram him. See, this is what I was talking about with the cruiser. Look at that maneuverability. That is exceptional. So right now I have AP or HE loaded, but AP is my secondary. So once I fire him outside of HE, try to light him on fire, confuse him, then I'm going to try to knock out his boilers. I hit him for some decent damage. Didn't start a fire, but good enough damage.
Bullseye.
Now, see what I was talking about? 11,000 damage. I did 1,500 when I hit him with HE. So,
We've destroyed
if you can hit them in the right spots, you can completely annihilate them with AP. It's just, like I said, I kind of thought of it as a Hail Mary. You got to try to hit certain spots of the ships. You know, where the boiler is the primary one, steering gear, magazine, places that will have something to stop the round. So this is a destroyer. More than likely, I'm not going to hit him in a vital spot with AP where it will do a lot of damage. So I've switched to HE, which, by the way, HE a lot of times will fully penetrate a destroyer anyway because of how incredibly lightly armored they are. I mean, occasionally I did switch to AP on fights with destroyers, but usually it was if I was very close range and I was trying to knock out like his boilers, steering gear, so he couldn't escape me. Right now I'm trying to force him into maneuvering into our torpedoes.
Oh, so we stop fighting when I show up. Okay.
Now I'm worried about our torpedoes. Ah, they're coming after me. But, not really a problem. Man, that little destroyer is dead. Got credit for that too, because of all the damage I did to him. I'm not sure if I mentioned it, but this is the Cleveland class. It's a tier 6 cruiser. I did get up to the next class, which was the Pensacola class. However, I didn't get it fully upgraded, and it's not different enough from the Cleveland to be a big deal. The Cleveland fully upgraded and everything was more entertaining to show the replays of. So I'm on fire, but I used my repair, so I've got about a minute until I can repair the fire. So I'm staying at full speed and I'm trying to maneuver all over the place to avoid as much fire from the battleship to my left as I can. Because as you can see, they are both focusing me. And if you're looking at the chat, I was really surprised at how many people were complaining about everything about the game. This is a beta test. Like, I was just so happy to get into this test. And look at that damage. Fully penetrated, 6,000 damage. Switch to AP. Let's knock out his boiler. That's what I'm thinking. Because I'm getting really screwed up, so I'm hoping for some good hits. Hear that? Doo-doo, doo-doo. That's torpedoes closing in. Let you know that you should be looking around you. But at the time, I knew I was probably gonna die, so I was just trying to do as much damage as I could. That's a pretty darn good result for a loss. You know, that would equal a lot of money and a lot of XP. 83 hits, 4 to the Citadel, 2 sinkings, 1 critical hit, and a fire. And my battleship ally. Alright, let's do some battleship gameplay. Honestly, I hate to say this because a lot of people really were looking forward to the battleships, but I gotta say this is probably my least favorite class. And the reason is because they are relatively unmaneuverable compared to the cruiser. They are relatively slow compared to the cruiser. And firepower wise, the guns are bigger, but they're on like 30-second reloads. So you get 2 or sometimes even 3 shots off for every 1 shot of the battleship if you're in a cruiser. So, yeah. Now, you know, this is a tier 5 battleship. It's Japanese, of course, because the Japanese right now are the only ones that have battleships, Congo class. I gotta say, it does look pretty awesome, you know. If you're wondering what the icons are, T, just like on my cruiser, is a scout plane, and Y, the cruiser's Y, is to turn secondary batteries into anti-aircraft. The battleship Y is a self-repair, and you only get a certain amount of them, 4 in the case of this Congo. It's not a huge self-repair. You can buff it up with skills and perks, but it's not massive. But it does allow the battleship to stay in a fight along with its increased health, as you can see, 49,500 health versus my tier 6 cruiser, which only had like 39,000. And it has way thicker armor, so between those things and the ability to heal itself on a 3-minute cooldown, it allows the battleship to stay in combat and take a pounding much more than any other class, which is what it's supposed to do. Now, at this kind of range, with this kind of reload, the reason I'm firing HE is I'm not absolutely certain about this, but high explosive, I would assume, had a larger splash radius. Now, Wargaming makes this game, and they make World of Tanks, of course. And in World of Tanks, HE has a splash radius, AP does not. So my thinking was, okay, you know, I got this major long reload. I want to increase my chances of doing any damage to these ships at this kind of range, which I don't know if you noticed, but it's an insane range. It's like 20 kilometers. As much as possible. So I'm shooting HE with the hope that even if I hit next to them, it'll hit them with splash and do damage, versus AP, which you basically have to directly hit. Or at least that was my assumption based on Wargaming's previous games. This, to me, is the biggest downfall of the battleship. It's just the length of the reload. It's so long. True, when you hit somebody, it really hurts. It, you know, because the guns are so much bigger than the cruiser guns, although later on cruisers get pretty darn big. I would rather have a smaller, less damaging gun that fires faster than these massive guns, because it takes forever for them to reload. So if you miss, well, the other thing about the battleships is the guns are so big, the turrets weigh so much. The turrets actually turn really, really slow, which is realistic. They turn really, really slow in real battleships. So you can actually outturn your turrets. So a lot of times when I'm maneuvering, I stop turning so that my turrets can catch up to who I'm trying to target, because between them moving and me turning, my turrets will never catch up. That was another thing I did not like. It's realistic, and I know why it's in there, and it should be in there. It's just, yeah, rather have a little bit smaller gun that turns faster, shoots faster. So right now we're going to work on this enemy battleship, and we are absolutely screwing him up along with our allies. Turning to get a full broadside with all my guns on him. The reason that you hear that, you know, what sounds like, you know, a really loud blast would make that ring in your ears, that's when you get heavily damaged by a single volley of fire. You'll hear that. I thought it was really neat. It really lets you know that you just got really screwed up. So I had a full broadside by him hit me, and it really hurt. But doesn't really matter, because I'm hurting him more. Apparently he decided to try to escape into the iceberg. It did not work out for him. So as you can see, I've switched to AP now because the ranges are significantly shorter, 7 to 10 kilometers versus 20 kilometers. So I'm on fire.
Problem solved, sir.
I'm gonna repair it. Just because I don't think that I'm gonna be getting attacked soon. It looks like the enemies are focusing on other people. Should give me enough time for my repair to come back up. And like I said, oh, there's the dive bombers on me. They actually did pretty decent damage for dive bombers. Now I got torpedoes coming in. You hear that pinging sound? But luckily they came in at a bad angle, so I was able to maneuver around them, even with a battleship, which doesn't maneuver very well. So I got another battleship in my sights, so I'm going to stay with AP, because pretty much anywhere you shoot a battleship, AP is going to do very good damage, because of how thick their armor is. Another really bad thing about battleships is that, generally speaking, they don't have very good AA compared to other ships of their tier. So, I mean, I've had all these aircraft over me and those dive bombers that just attacked me, and you see very little AA to no AA, depending on the battleship. So, that's another weakness of it. That's why you should really stay with allies if you can. Right now, I'm not really with allies. I'm kind of trying to... We're trying to cap it out because we're behind. So I'm trying to stay moving and maneuver around. And hopefully we'll end up capping it out with my ally that's on the other side of the cap circle. They'll focus. So the idea is they'll focus on me and leave him alone. Because if you hit, just like in World of Tanks, if you hit the people in the cap, it resets the points that they have. So I've been reset. That means I just want them to focus on me and not the other guy that has all the points. But it kind of looks like, now looking at the map, that guy was actually kind of leaving for some reason. Yeah, he did. He left. So now, for some silly reason, I have decided to engage a destroyer. This is something you should not do at close range with a battleship. And you'll see why in just a minute here. I actually, while maneuvering, cannot get my guns down low enough to shoot at him. Meanwhile, he can shoot at me and he can hit me with torpedoes. So that was a foolish mistake on my side. I should have turned around and retreated from the battle, but I didn't. And that's what you get. Boom! So, this game is coming out this year, probably the next couple of months. Thanks for watching.